Hello students, welcome back to school. In our previous class, we looked at culture. In this class, we'll be looking at crime. We'll be looking at the meaning of crime. We'll be looking at types of crime. We'll be looking at examples of crime. We'll be looking at the causes of crime. We'll be looking at the prevention of crime. And let us first of all start by looking at the examples of crime. In ordinary language, the term crime denotes an unlawful act punishable by the state. Crime can simply be defined as the breaking of laws that are laid down by the ruling authority of the land. Crime is an act harmful not only to some individual or individuals, but also to a community, society, or the state. Such acts are forbidden and punishable by law. Examples are robbery, rape, kidnapping, stealing, human trafficking, bribery, drug trafficking, murder, theft, vandalism, examination malpractices, corruption, and to mention but a few. There's a lot of crime, but these are some of them that we can mention at this time. Also, we can take as a case study. Let us look at causes of crime. One of the first cause of crime is poverty, economic deprivation, which often drive people to a great length of desperation to get money. When people are not having what it takes, when they were growing up, proper care was not there, money was not there, eating was a problem. They saw their family or their parents going through hell to cater for them. Some children in that kind of condition could turn out to become people who are kind of drawn to crime, maybe in a way of trying to make ends meet. So poverty can be seen as one cause of crime. Another cause of crime is TV violence, or what you generally will see in the mass media. People are often influenced and they try to emulate the violence acts which they watch or read via the mass media. So when people watch crime acts on TV, or they read the pages of newspaper and then they saw some acts, sometimes they want to kind of repeat or practice such things, and eventually it might not end well. We also look at family condition, parental abuse on children's neglect, family violence. It's often lead a child into crime. So when children grow up in a family setting that is not in order and proper care were not giving them, or even their own parents start abusing them, they grow up with a mindset, and as such they also can become a tool in the hand of those who are already kind of organizers of crime. Another one we're going to look at, number 4, is depression and other social and mental disorder. People that are mentally unstable could easily involve in malicious activities or others, and eventually themselves. They can carry out malicious activities on others and also themselves. Another one is hard drugs such as narcotic often lead people into criminal behavior. An addicted person would easily involve in crime to get money for drugs. So people who get involved in drugs addiction, who are now addicted to drugs, they often in time will always get involved in crime because they always need money. to get more drugs for themselves. Others are victims of unfair ruling, injustice, unemployment, government or social neglect. All of this can become a reason why some persons could end up involved in a crime. But we must sound it very clear here that crime is not a good thing. So we don't advise anybody to begin to start taking that as an option. No matter what it is, no matter the situation, there's always a way out. There are other better options that can be taken. But crime certainly is not one of such options that should be considered in any circumstances. Look at the effects of common crimes. One of the effects is that crime can lead to a feeling of shock, fear, or anger. So crime can cause a lot of things. People who hear of crime or when crime was committed, some persons could become a victim of it. A life could be taken. That can bring a very great shock to the family members of such a person whose life was taken. You can also begin to start making people to live in fear. If they used to go out maybe in odd hours or late in the evening, when an incident would have happened in their street, all of them start becoming scared. We start seeing everybody enter their houses very early, locking their doors. So whenever anybody is even knocking on their doors, they want to be sure who is the person and why is the person knocking and all of that. The anger, some people could get angry in a way of wanting to revenge for their loved ones who perhaps became a victim of such incident. Look at drug abuse affect workers' productivity. It uses public fund for drug treatments. People who abuse drugs, they can never be productive, and sometimes they also get involved in stealing funds to use for their own drug addiction. Untimely deaths. Often the time people who get involved in crime, they die very early. And sometimes when luck run at them, they are caught by the police, or sometimes they could engage themselves in a gun duel, gun battle, where the police begin to shoot at them and they also begin to shoot at the police. And when they are unlucky, the bullet could hit them at a very points where they might not be able to survive such a wound. Now look at economic underdevelopment. So when the economic is also not being not well developed, people will not be empowered to be able to afford some certain things, and such also can become what will become the effect of common crime. So when crime are kind of committed, it affects the economy. A lot of things will happen. Now look at insecurity of lives and property. So when crime are committed, lives will not be secured, property will also not be secured. It portrays a bad image. Any society that allows crime to continue, that society will now be seen as a society that does not have what it takes for any reasonable or serious-minded people to come for anything business. That can also affect the economy, like we earlier said, and every other things. Look at types of common crimes. We have violence crime. It could be crime that involve killings. It could be crime that involve battering. It could be crime that involve bloodshed and so on and so forth. Look at property crime. Property crime are crimes that involve stealing of someone's property, or trying to maneuver something, property that is not yours, to someone else. And look at public order crime, public issues. What happened now there, maybe to normally what public order is, could be things about maintaining order in the society. So people who also refuse to maintain order have become a victim. They become it becomes a crime. to refuse not to obey order in the society. We'll look at white collar crime. White collar crime are crimes that are committed by people who are already working in suits on tie, and they are also using biros to kind of hard zeros to feed us so they can loot the fund of the organizations that they are working with. Look at public enterprise crime. This also has to do with when you work in the public service, you start getting involved in looting fund and all of that. All of these are types of crime that are not kind of good for the image and progress of the country. Look at crime prevention. One of the first preventive measures that can be taken against crime is education. There's every tendency that a man who is enlightened, whose mind is properly developed, will not get involved in crime, will not be a party to it, will not even discuss it with anyone, because such a person will be an asset already to himself and to the society. Another one is skills acquisition and development. So if you also cannot go to school, you can acquire skills, you can develop yourself in every other areas. All of this can also help you to become a man and a woman that is responsible, so you will not even have any interest in anything that has to do with crime. Another thing is hard work, like the motto of the school, of our school says hard work pay. So it's also reflecting it. So when you work hard for yourself, you'll be able to earn what you deserve, and as such you can afford anything. And a man who can afford anything will barely think of committing crime. So most people get involved in crime, like we earlier said, because they are poor. So when you've been able to achieve all that you need to achieve, it will also make it not possible for you to even consider anything like that. Another one is the resourcefulness. Having developed yourself, you become a person of resource, become resourceful in every area, and as such you will be needed in almost every area to render assistance or one thing or the other for the development of other things. So when you have fully engaged your mind in becoming an answer to issues, in becoming a solutions to problems, as such crime will not be part of the things you will be thinking of in your mind. Another thing is family planning. So when parents have a proper family planning where they are able to bring up children that they can cater for, if it's just only too good, as such those children will be well catered for, they will be well trained, so those children will not involve also in crime. Another thing is poverty alleviation program. If the country also gets involved in poverty alleviation program, they begin to start helping those who are poor to leave poverty by assisting them with funds, by training them, by giving the ones who want to go into farming the land and seedlings to cultivate their land, and then they start becoming very productive. So as such, they will not think of anything crime anymore. Another one we'll look at is public enlightenment. So the government can also get involved in enlightening the public to get to understand the effect of crime and also to remove their hand from it. So those who are having the intention to get involved or want to go into that direction will start thinking again. So when all of these are done in the society, you start discovering now that the crime issues will start reducing. Most people will start getting involved in legal and meaningful businesses instead of getting involved in things that will rupture or destroy their future. So this is all we are going to take for this class. We will continue in our next class. This is all we can take for this class. I will continue from here in my next class. See you in my next class.